rewind to when the group originally split up. As Josuke and Jotaro go off to find the arrow, Okuyasu and Koichi formulate a plan to lure Chili Pepper's user away. Koichi comes up with a plan, because Okuyasu is too dumb to help him do it. Chili Pepper doesn't know that Koichi knows that he can listen to conversations on the phone. He'll call Okuyasu's house from a phone booth on the other side of town, and tell Okuyasu over the phone to meet at a pharmacy near the center of town. They'll meet up, and then pretend they have to meet at Josuke's house. Then they'll head there. With any luck, Chili Pepper will overhear the phone conversation and try to follow or ambush them, and that's when they'll attack him. Plan goes smoothly. When Okuyasu and Koichi meet at the pharmacy, though, they haven't seen any sign of Chili Pepper. They tried to head to Josuke's, taking a shortcut through a back alley by the drugstore. They notice something is off about the alleyway, though. They can't seem to escape it. They walk through it over and over and always seem to come back to where they started. They realize that this must be some kind of stand attack and try to find the user. They search around hopelessly, and then are suddenly approached by Reimi, offering to show them the way out. Due to her innocent-seeming nature, they hold off on attacking her. Reimi has a pretty similar interaction with Okuyasu and Koichi here that she does in canon with Rohan and Koichi. They find out that she's a ghost, and she tells them the same story about how she was murdered and the killer getting away. Still committing crimes to this day. They surmise that the murderer must be Killer Queen's user. She asks them to help get justice for her murder, and also to help protect a boy who she loves dearly, as she's worried the murderer will target him soon. When they ask why, she says it's because he's a stand user. Isn't that right, Rohan? They turn around to see who she spoke to. Rohan Kishibe is standing behind them, a bewildered look on his face. Before anyone can say anything, Reimi suddenly feels an ominous presence approaching that just entered the alleyway. Koichi's plan to be followed did work, but now someone even worse than Otoishi is coming to kill them. Reimi tells them that they have to escape, now, or else they will all die. They frantically ask Reimi how to escape the alleyway. She shows the three of them the way out, and they manage to leave without getting killed by the grabby hands. Koichi still has his close scrape with getting snatched by them, but this time he's saved by Okuyasu scraping space away to pull him out of the hand's grasp. As Koichi gets pulled back, he sees a shadowy figure watching them from behind. They end up back at the drugstore. The presence vanishes. They can't celebrate their escape for long, though. Okuyasu tries to intimidate Rohan and demands to know who he is. Appalled that a moron like Okuyasu would dare threaten him, Rohan immediately flashes them with his manga. Before they can question what's going on, Heaven's Door renders them unconscious. Koichi almost falls into the street and gets hit by a car. When Rohan pulls him back, the driver slows down and rolls down his window, revealing Yoshikage Akira at the wheel. Rohan apologizes and says he'll take care of his friends. We get to see Kira drive, and he has a scene with bringing the severed hand home like he does in the anime, saying as long as Otoishi's plan goes well, he's excited to enjoy this weekend to the fullest. Jotaro heads to the hotel to check out and get ready to leave. Josuke, meanwhile, meets up with Koichi and Okuyasu to see how their plan went to lure out Chili Pepper's user. He finds them both perfectly fine at school and asks them how the plan went. They said it went great, but when Josuke presses them for details, they can't seem to remember anything they did. They aren't able to recall anything about the alleyway, the ominous presence, Reimi, or Rohan. Josuke is suspicious of something going on, but no matter how much he questions them, they don't remember. They can only assure Josuke that they did in fact keep Chili Pepper away from Jotaro, and so Jotaro will be able to leave Morio in peace. After school, Josuke notices Okuyasu and Koichi going to Rohan's house. He stops them and asks them why they're going there. Okuyasu says that a famous manga artist that Koichi loves lives there, so they wanted to go get his autograph. Josuke has nothing to worry about, so he can just go home. Josuke says okay and leaves. When they go inside, all of their memories from the previous day come rushing back, and they realize how much danger they are in. The previous day, Rohan knocked them out with Heaven's Door and dragged them back to his house. When they woke up, they got to officially meet him. Rohan is the same weirdo he's introduced as in the original, though Koichi does get excited when he mentions he's a famous mangaka. He tells them that he was investigating that alleyway since he was born around there, and then goes on his whole spiel about how as a manga artist you have to try and experience everything you can in life to make your work more authentic. He was coming down the alleyway for the first time when he saw Okuyasu and Koichi and overheard Reimi's entire story. He was very unnerved since that girl Reimi seemed to know him, but he doesn't remember her at all. Anyway, he's not afraid of any murderer, since with his stand, Heaven's Door, he's invincible. He kidnapped them because he wanted to use Heaven's Door to read their memories, and boy did he find some great stuff in there. They also can't attack him now since Heaven's Door has written commands in them saying they can't. He wants to keep using their memories for manga material, and so he erases the whole experience from their minds, commanding them to come back the next day to give him more. In the present, Koichi and Okuyasu try to flee from the house to call after Josuke for help, but the moment they step out they forget and can't call to him. Josuke does eventually come back with him though, noticing the scrape on Koichi's hand like he does in the original. Josuke and Rohan fight like they do in canon, and it ends the same way with Josuke beating the crap out of Rohan for insulting his hair. We also get the same backstory about how Josuke was saved by a delinquent who looked just like him when he was a kid. Also, important side note, the detail of the illness being from Dio's curse is left out. The only thing Josuke says in this scene is that he was sick as a kid and his mom was taking him to the hospital. That way the nature of his illness is still left a mystery to the audience, and a scene that occurs much later will still hold some dramatic weight. Anyway, before Rohan gets totally beat up by Josuke, Koichi and Okuyasu stop him and tell him that Rohan might be the key to finding the murderer plaguing Morio. Rohan scoffs and asks why they care so much about protecting the arrow, seeing how it's caused them nothing but problems since they got involved with it. And this leads to everyone reaffirming their determination to protect the town from the arrow. They try to interrogate Rohan about Reimi, but he really doesn't know anything else about her or the murderer she was talking about. And then Josuke continues beating the crap out of him, and Rohan gets hospitalized. After the incident with Rohan, Josuke rushes to the Grand Hotel to see Jotaro, mostly to inform him, but also to see what their next move is with the arrow. But on his way, he is suddenly hit from behind on his head, knocking him out. As he goes unconscious, he sees the figure of a man standing over him. Jotaro is about to check out of his room for the final time when he gets a call on his hotel phone. He picks it up.
This is Red Hot Chili Pepper. I have Josuke Higashikata as my hostage. If you want to save him, bring me the arrow at the Morio Harbor in 30 minutes. Otherwise, I'll kill him. If you try to go to Koichi or Okuyasu for help, I'll kill him.
Jotaro takes a taxi to Josuke's house to see if he's really been kidnapped. When he knocks on the door, Tomoko answers and recognizes him as Joseph Joestar, confessing that she still is in love with him after all this time. Confused, Jotaro asks her how she could possibly know Joseph. Tomoko explains her affair with Joseph to him, and Jotaro finally connects the dots, remembering that Josuke has a star birthmark like him. Josuke is his uncle. He figured he and Josuke were distantly related somehow, and started looking into the Higashikata lineage at the library, but he wasn't able to fully devote his attention to it with all the craziness with the arrow. He is taken aback, realizing just how closely he and Josuke were actually related, and thus how closely their fates are intertwined. He also gets mad, realizing that his grandfather cheated on his grandmother. Tomoko asks him if he's seen Josuke, since he hasn't been home for a while. Jotaro, not wanting her to worry, tells her that Josuke is with his friends, and they're all planning on meeting up later that evening. She says okay. She and Ryohei are planning on spending the evening at her relatives, and let Josuke know that's where they are when she sees him. Jotaro only has a few minutes left before the meetup, and so he formulates a plan to save Josuke and the arrow. We see him go by Koichi, but then remembers the warning from Red Hot Chili Pepper to not talk to him. He places a hand on the fence, lingering there, and then takes a taxi to the harbor. As the sun sets, Jotaro makes his way to the harbor, alone. When he gets there, Akira Otoishi is waiting for him, finally showing his face to Jotaro. Red Hot Chili Pepper emerges from the grid line with Josuke still unconscious. Other than the light from Chili Pepper, the harbor is completely dark. Akira warns Jotaro that if he tries anything, he'll electrocute and kill Josuke instantly. He tells Jotaro to hand over the arrow. Jotaro produces it from his trench coat and tosses it onto the ground. Akira hears it clink on the harbor. Jotaro demands he release Josuke, but Akira scoffs and says he can't just let Jotaro walk away now that he's seen his face. He has to kill him and Josuke right here and now. Not to mention, he'll be extremely pleased to hear that Jotaro is dead. He readies Chili Pepper to electrocute Josuke to death when suddenly Josuke gets pulled away from his grasp over to Jotaro's side. Okuyasu and Koichi reveal themselves, prepared to stand and fight with Jotaro. Otoishi is furious and demands to know how they knew to come. Chili Pepper was watching Jotaro the entire time and he wasn't able to talk to them. Jotaro reveals that when he was at Koichi's, he tapped a message in Morse code into the fence. Koichi, who saw Jotaro through the window, sent echoes to capture the message. It was short, but very effective to get Koichi and Okuyasu to come to his aid. Now the three of them are ready to put an end to Otoishi once and for all. Furious, Otoishi tries to make a mad dash for the arrow and run. Jotaro heads him off and is ready to kill him with Star Platinum when Otoishi pulls out his final move. He absorbs all the electricity from Morio into his stand, giving it the strength and speed it needs to go toe-to-toe with Star Platinum. Josuke starts to wake up as Red Hot Chili Pepper begins beating his friends, one after another. He's so fast, Star Platinum can barely keep up. Jotaro tries stopping time to pin down Chili Pepper, but his time stop isn't long enough, and Chili Pepper's movements are nearly impossible to predict. Anytime he gets close enough to Otoishi to attack him, he is pulled away by Chili Pepper switching their positions. Okuyasu tries to eliminate the grid outlets with a hand, but they just end up exposing even more electricity for Chili Pepper to use. Josuke, seeing his friends in danger, joins the fray with Jotaro. He does the same trick from the original, where he reverts the pavement back into tar to slow Chili Pepper's movements. The fight goes as it normally does in canon, but this time Jotaro and Josuke work together to trap Chili Pepper into a tire. He breaks out, and then gets sent flying into the ocean. Akira collapses, nearly dead. Josuke retrieves the arrow that Jotaro dropped. When he picks it up, it's actually just a stick. Jotaro reveals that the stick was a decoy. He faked the metallic clink it made when he dropped it with Koichi's echoes. The real arrow is hidden at Josuke's house. Josuke's house was empty for the night. He figured it would be safe there until he went to retrieve it, not wanting to actually risk losing the arrow in his exchange. Jotaro's gambit in this fight was that Koichi understood his message and would come in time to fake the clink, proving that Koichi is in fact the most reliable guy he knows. Jotaro goes to kill Otoishi when he notices a flicker of electricity move through the ground. Otoishi suddenly cackles and says they haven't won yet. He begins to gloat, saying Killer Queen will kill Jotaro for all his meddling with the arrow, when suddenly Otoishi's body blows up in front of them, completely vaporized. All the electricity returns to the harbor. They stand there, completely stunned. Jotaro is the first to realize what just happened. Otoishi sent Chili Pepper through the power lines to relay the message to Killer Queen that the arrow is hidden at Josuke's house. Killer Queen just blew up Otoishi's stand, thus killing the user. Killer Queen will be heading to Josuke's house to collect the arrow. If they don't get back there and defend it, the arrow will be lost forever. Cut to Killer Queen. We see a replay of his interaction with Chili Pepper, just as Jotaro described it. Furious at Otoishi's insubordination and multiple failures to retrieve the arrow, Killer Queen blows up Chili Pepper, ridding himself of worrying about him. He turns to a figure in the shadows, saying that if they're going to strike, the time is now. Josuke's house is empty and the arrow is there. This is perfect timing.